On June 29th, something fairly remarkable happened in this room right behind me. Representative Barbara Lee of California proposed an amendment to the Defense Appropriations Bill that's now being considered, and that amendment was adopted with bipartisan support. And it's remarkable because that amendment that Barbara Lee proposed would repeal the 2001 authorization for use of military force, which has given a blank check to presidents in both parties to wage perpetual war all around the world without meaningful oversight from Congress. The House Defense Subcommittee for Appropriations adopted an amendment that you've been long championing to repeal the 2001 AUMF, and that was adopted because of some Republicans coming to your side. What was your reaction initially when that occurred?
Well, I was cautiously optimistic because for many, many years now I've been working with Republicans and Democrats to build support for repealing the 2001 authorization. So I was really pleased that finally on that day during the Appropriations Committee, we were able to make the argument where reason prevailed. I don't think the Republicans want to see a state of perpetual war either. Neither do Democrats. The public does not want to see that either.
The reason Lee's amendment was adopted in committee was because a critical mass of Republicans rose to support it. One of them was Congressman Scott Taylor of Virginia, a former Navy SEAL and Iraq War veteran.
I want to rise in support as well, too. I think that we've seen a disproportionate sacrifice with the military community who has gone over and over again. And I believe that we owe them the debate, whatever side you come on or come down on. I think that we do owe them a debate, because the American people should have a debate on this via the representatives to decide what we're going to do. So I just very briefly thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
I think when you have a third administration working off of a 16-year-old use of authorization of military force, that when it was created didn't even envision some of the enemies that we're fighting today and where we're fighting them. I think that is, we have a responsibility and a duty as representatives of the American people to come together and have a debate, wherever the debate may go, but we should have that debate.
Our country is in a state of mourning. Some of us must say, let's step back for a moment. Let's just pause just for a minute and think through the implications of our actions today so that this does not spiral out of control.
Barbara Lee was the sole person, she was the only one in the entire U.S. Congress to vote against the AUMF in 2001, shortly after 9/11. She was vilified for that, she was harangued in the national media, but if you go back and check what she said at the time, her words have been proven very, very prescient, and she basically predicted what happened, meaning the president doesn't have to bother with submitting to oversight from the legislative branch and can just wage war indiscriminately and without limit. Her words of warning proved prophetic. According to Micah Zenko, an analyst at the Council on Foreign Relations, the AUMF has been used to justify as many as 40 military activities or operations in 14 countries under Presidents Bush, Obama, and Trump, few of which had anything remotely to do with 9/11.
There's no question about it that your executive has to have the flexibility to be able to defend this nation and to be able to protect people. And we don't want to impede him or her and their ability to do that. We don't. However, we also have, there's a role, Congress has a role to play in crafting the direction of the nation, because obviously we're the closest to the people when it comes to that, and we obviously have the purse strings as well too. So I think that she again, I don't agree with her on a lot of things. I may not agree with her if there's a debate and where we go with the next AUMF. If we depending on what the executives ask for, and we debate that and go, I may disagree with her on the ultimate outcome, but I do agree with her that we need to have a debate now.
Does it give you any personal sense of vindication when you hear people across the ideological spectrum saying that all those years ago maybe you had a point?
Well, I'm just pleased that members of Congress really understand that 2001 resolution was a blank check to wage war anytime, any place, anywhere, under any president. And we've worked hard to educate the public and members of Congress to really understand that. And so I don't feel vindicated because I knew on that terrible day, 3 days after the horrific attacks, that this was the wrong way to go. It was the wrong resolution. It was open-ended, and that one day we had to repeal it.
Despite receiving overwhelming bipartisan support in committee, Republican leadership under the direction of Paul Ryan had multiple procedural avenues to negate Lee's amendment. Late on July 18th, Lee said Ryan had in fact stripped it in the dead of night.
This was put in based on regular order, based on a democratic process, and for him to take it out is very undemocratic, and it's wrong. And so we're going to continue to fight and find a way to finally get this resolution, this authorization repealed.
People didn't like the time frame of Barbara Lee's amendment. Say, hey, you have 8 months. Personally, I think that's enough time. I just do. But listen, there's, you've heard this before. Okay, under the last administration, when there's like a troop withdrawal in a certain time, people don't like that, right? You have the same sort of logic with some folks that are saying, whoa, if you give an 8-month time frame, that cuts it off with troops that are overseas. I get that argument. Personally, I think that forces us to do our job.
Lee has been attempting to force the issue for years, including when Democrats control the Congress and the presidency.
This resolution has been used, or this authorization has been used 30-some times according to the Congressional Research Service.
As many as 40, according to one analysis I just saw.
This was 3 years ago when it was over 30. Yeah, and this was an unclassified report. Imagine how many times it's been used in a classified nature that could not be reported. And so I think the first thing we have to do is realize that we have to do our job, and that regardless of who the president is, Congress has to assert its responsibility. And this was true under President Bush, President Obama, and now under President Trump.